So I had to do something with it straight away. Otherwise, it would have been nothing from
It
there.
was brave. It was a very brave move.
I started basically bluffing that I
Mm-hmm.
was a confident person. And even though inside I was like, oh,
Yeah.
anxious and scared, but what I like to see myself when someone is standing in front of a group is confidence and some airiness, some humor, maybe even. And so I started applying that myself. You really start to understand your body more and more. And that's what I find so intriguing. And even now, after now about 5, 6 years of teaching and practicing myself for over 12 years, I just like recently, then another yeah, coin we call in the Netherlands a coin drops. You get this another insight.
Great that you're watching or listening to the Momo Yoga community chats. We hope that you enjoy our conversations. If you like what we do, make sure to subscribe to our channel and like our episodes. Namaste. Hi there, and welcome to today's Momo Yoga community chats. We're here today with Sanne from Mayura, Yoga Shala. Sanne, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. My name is Sanne, and I am a yoga studio owner in the Netherlands, in a rural area. And yeah, yoga has been a passion of mine for over 12 years. And 2 years ago, I started um, my yoga studio. I've been teaching for over 5 years. And 2 years ago, I started my own yoga studio.
Amazing, fantastic. So, just to backtrack a little bit, so you said 12 years. Before that, did you do your yoga teacher training 12 years ago?
My yoga teacher training, no, I did that 5 years. Yeah, about 5, 6 years ago. Yes.
So
Yeah.
12 years was your yoga practice in general.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Cool.
Exactly. A student of yoga.
I love that because then you did so 7 years of your own yoga practice before you felt that sort of calling to go into yoga teacher training. So that's quite a long time. Um, what made you feel like you wanted to do a yoga teacher training, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I have to think about that because before I did the teacher training, I did a pre-teacher training in Amsterdam. And that was because I was so interested in the topic, but I saw so many yoga styles. I saw Ashtanga yoga, Vinyasa yoga, Bikram yoga, so many styles. And I was like, what is yoga exactly? So I started researching myself. I started researching yoga myself, and um, and I found out that these are just particular yeah methods, and there's one yeah so there's one how do you say that in English? So that, but that yoga is one source, and there are different kind of methods teaching basically the same thing. And so when I found out, I was so very much interested in yoga. So I started doing the pre-teacher training because I didn't have the ambition yet to teach, but
Okay.
I wanted to know more. And because when I did that, I started to get even more triggered and I wanted to know even more. So then I looked into teacher trainings maybe 1 or 2 years later, that was.
I didn't know that pre-teacher training existed. So what exactly is that?
So yeah, it's a deep dive into yoga, but it's not. So you don't get the hours for it. So usually when you do the teacher training, you get your 200 hour or maybe 500 hour um, um, yeah, diploma certificate. But over there with the pre-teacher training, it's more like, are you interested? Do you want to know more you want to know more about yoga, but you don't know if you want to become a teacher. So it's more of a testing the waters, basically.
Nice. And maybe a little bit of self-discovery at the same time.
Yes, because I think for most people, if I it's been quite a while, but if I think about the people who came there, they didn't really have the ambition to go and start teaching, but it was more they were for so much interested in yoga, but at that time you didn't really have the workshops or the like the yeah, workshop and classes that went further than just a regular yoga class. So that's why it was very helpful, because you really went into philosophy, a little bit into anatomy, not too much. And of course, yeah, the asanas practice and yeah, and pranayama a little bit. Yeah.
And did you ultimately feel there was a benefit to doing a yoga teacher training for you with all your experience and your pre-training? It seems that you already had it quite ingrained within you.
And yeah, was it a benefit? Yeah, I do think so, that it was a benefit in the end, because I really knew what yoga was doing for me uh,
Mm.
for so many years. So I knew that I wanted to, in the end, start teaching. When I started doing the teacher training, that was in India, I still did it for myself. It was not for teaching others, but as the training, um, yeah, developed further went by, and it became clear to me that I wanted to teach, even though I had a lot of. I was a very shy person when I was young, in my younger years. So yeah, standing in front of groups, that would I was actually quite scared doing that. But
Fully understand.
same for you.
I did my yoga teacher training. You can ask the whole Mama Yoga team. I did one class with them. I've not really progressed further, but I think between doing yoga and public speaking, it's a whole other ball game. So yeah, absolutely. I fully understand.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, but it is because for me it was so important that it's, yeah, you just start off and then you attract maybe three, four people, and then from there you also grow into that role as a yoga teacher, in
Mm.
my opinion. Yeah.
So then fast forward after the yoga teacher training, I think you mentioned you opened your studio or your shala 2 years ago. So
Mhm.
during the 3 years that followed, were you teaching in other studios around your area or?
No, no, I started straight away for myself. So I registered as a yoga teacher at the Chamber of Commerce here in the Netherlands, and then I rented a place. It was a small little church, and I started to promote my yoga classes, and that's how it started. So I, I think I don't have that much experience in other yoga studios as a teacher. I only did that in one studio. I was a teacher. That was only for one class a week. I prefer to just start the business myself and then start growing from there.
That's lovely. I do fully understand that because I kind of explored that venue myself of sort of going into other studios, and I feel like you have to adopt or you have to, yeah, adopt their energy, perhaps move away from exactly how you picture it because it's really, I think, an energy and emotion. It's something that you lean into where your shala is kind of representative of your, yeah, your 12 years of practice and your growth and so forth. So I really understand that, definitely.
Yeah,
Mm.
and um, for me, it was also that I don't know, you really have to do everything yourself. You actually you start, of course, your path as an entrepreneur as well. And that comes with a lot of challenges, and you have to promote yourself, which was also very difficult for me because I didn't want to be in the picture. um, so you have to start promoting yourself, and you, yeah, for me, this path, so the yoga teacher path with the part of being an entrepreneur, um, really made me grow. I was, I wouldn't say I was insecure, but I was not someone who would be in the front of the group, talking, speaking, and yeah, no, I was not really the person like that. So, but having your own business and seeing it growing is really, it really fulfills you. And as you mentioned, like if you teach, if you perhaps if you have another job, daytime job, and you just want to do a couple of classes a week, and you don't want to spend so much time in on promotions and administration, all that, then teaching for another studio is fine. But for me, I invested basically everything. So as soon as I finished my teacher training, I started my teaching career, and I went all in basically. So it became my full-time job. So I didn't. Yeah, I had another small job on the side, which was online. And I have flexible hours I could do whenever, so I could really focus on the yoga teaching job.
That's wonderful. They
Yeah.
do say after yoga teacher training that you should dive straight in. Kind of like if you learn to ride a bike or a horse or whatever, that the longer you leave it before you do that first class, the more you're going to build up that fear and
Yeah.
also the expectation of yourself to be perfect.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nicely phrased, because that's exactly how I, yeah, how I am, or the story I've been telling myself how I am. That when, because I really love doing yoga, practicing yoga, and I really like to teach, and I wanted to teach. I had to do the desire to teach. But usually I'm more of a person, a little bit more like waiting and seeing, and maybe when the time is right, and well, you just wait for a very long time, and at some point you just put it aside, and life goes on. And that was for me life changing, and that period of time, because for me it was like, if I don't do anything straight away with it, it's going to be on the side, and it's going to be like, yeah, I once did a teacher training and that's it.
Mm.
So I had to do something with it straight away, otherwise it would have been nothing from
It
there.
was brave. It was a very brave move, and it seems to yeah, I mean, it's a couple of years later, so it's looking good, touch wood for you, that everything goes well. But I'm really happy to hear that you, yeah, overcame those fears as well. But I'm curious, how did you overcome the shyness that you mentioned?
Um, so the shyness is, so this was when I was a child. I was really shy, and at some point, so as a teenager, I could still be a little bit shy and afraid to talk in front of groups.
Mm.
But at some point, I switched a button, because what I didn't like was the awkwardness that you would that you are standing there, and you you look really awkward, and you feel really awkward, and that's what I didn't want anymore. So more, and so I started basically bluffing that I
Mm-hmm.
was a confident person, and I even though inside I was like, oh,
Yeah.
anxious and um, scared. But what I like to see myself when someone is standing in front of a group is confidence and some airiness, some humor, maybe even. And So I started applying that myself because I feel very awkward when the person in front of the group is also feeling really awkward. So you have this energy that is, well, it's obviously is contagious. And so that's why, even though I didn't feel super confident, I just started representing myself as if I am very confident in what I was doing. And of course, it didn't always look like that. But then throw some humor in it and then a joke, and that helped me out a lot.
Amazing. And I actually saw a video, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Jay Shetty, but I'm not too sure.
Mhm.
Where basically you have to tell yourself that the nerves you're feeling are excitement. So you have to, when you're feeling so terrified, you have to go, I'm excited, I'm
Yeah,
excited. And then basically over time, what happens is with like neuroplasticity and so forth, your body comes to really interpret the nerves as actually you're excited. Like
yeah,
it just translates from the brain down into the body, and then it's like, okay, my heart is beating fast and I feel a little bit like flushed and so forth. And it's like it's because I'm excited.
yeah.
But it's a practice for sure. It takes time, I think, to get to that point.
So you're really reprogramming yourself because there's an intense emotion, and the emotion, intense feeling slash emotion inside of you, and you just because emotion and thought together creates this association, this connection. So if you are telling yourself, I'm excited,
Yep.
then you might start to actually, at some point, start to feel different about it mentally. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it sounds like you've been on quite the journey. Um, and I was looking at your offerings, and you have such a variety, and it's truly wonderful and very, very interesting. I saw from the relaxation that you have going on. I think it was a couples yoga. You have pregnancy yoga, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So, have you done additional teacher trainings, or is
Yeah.
that from personal experience that you've come to find your passions as well? And what are your passions within the Shala?
Yeah, good question. Multiple questions. So Um, the events, usually what I notice with events, so the specials that I organize, which is usually on Friday evenings, um, most people like to slow down in it. So therefore, I have an event called Slow Down Special. So that's restorative yoga with massage. I have yeah, that's lovely, golden combination. And also the deep trance special, which is yoga nidra with a shamanic sound bath. And these are collaborations, by the way. So it's not that I do everything. So I do the yoga part, and in this case, a sound bath is done by a shaman. So usually what in my experience, people like to take it slow on the Friday evening. So therefore, I usually organize something, um, yeah, meeting those needs.
Nice.
And if I want to do, for example, a workshop um, that is, for example, inversions, then I would do that in the weekend in the morning, for example. But coming back to your question about what my passion is within the Shala, it is actually alignment yoga. So I did a course, a younger, or it's not a course. So I did the training, a younger training, but I stopped after my first year because I opened this studio. So that was, and in my teacher training in India was also very much the focus on alignment, was also a younger teacher. So
Yep.
my passion is alignment a lot. Yeah, I really love that. Um, yeah, I like the slower ones too. Yin yoga, for example, or yoga nidra, I really like. But yeah, my true passion is alignment yoga. Yeah, yeah, focusing on.
Are you able to tell me exactly what that entails? Because to be honest, I'm not sure I've done alignment yoga, and I've
Yeah.
done a
So
lot.
have you ever done Iyengar yoga?
I've not, and I would also love to ask you that because I saw this quite a lot. I work a lot with French studios, and there's lots of Iyengar in France.
Mhm.
But yeah, would you be able to just clarify if that's okay?
Yeah. So Iyengar yoga is very complete system, and maybe you've heard about yeah, BKS Iyengar. So he was a big man guru who brought yoga also to the West, and his focus was on alignment. To avoid injuries, but also in a therapeutic way, to use it like that. Um, and it's so since I have not completed my Iyengar training, which is 3 years, and unfortunately I could not combine it with the yoga studio. Um, I call my classes alignment yoga because there's a lot of overlap, but yeah, I don't have the possibility to yeah, describe myself as a younger teacher. But alignment yoga is so it basically says it's in the
Yeah.
word itself. It focuses really on alignment. So usually if you do uh, a particular pose, let's say warrior pose, in my class, for example, we would do alternatives. So we would try to open and get access to particular areas by doing the warrior pose in a different way.
Okay.
For example, um, if you think about warrior one pose, um, so we would, for example, put a belt. So we use a lot of props.
Mhm.
We put a belt around the back foot and
Yeah.
then raise the arms, and grab the belt in our hands like this. So we really extend the leg, for example, really open up the chest. And in this way, you start to feel maybe something different, and you might get access to that part of the body because there's, of course, this body intelligence. So once you have experienced it, your body will find it easier to, well, do it again. So when you do the classical pose, so without any props, it might be easier for your body to do this particular, well, opening of the chest or this particular move. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm really passionate about, because you really become aware of your body, and you can start to isolate the body parts and start to move those, well, get access to those body parts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think the moment that you said with the belt on the foot and then like putting up, my whole body was like, wow, that like I could feel how good that would feel without even doing it. 'Cause I think I've maybe done it once in the past, but yeah, using the belt and the props to
Mm.
move into something slightly more open, and receiving a little bit more. I mean, it sounds really
Mhm.
beautiful, but I'm just not sure why I've not yeah, done it more basically because it sounds lovely.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I can recommend.
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, and you really become, you really start to understand your body more and more, and that's what I find so intriguing. And even now, after now about 5 6 years of teaching and practicing myself for over 12 years, I just like recently, then another yeah, coin, we call in the Netherlands a coin drops. You know, you get this another insight, and you're like, oh yeah, if I do it like this, then I can get access to this part, or I can even get further into the pose in a safe way, of course. So that's so it's well, you probably know yourself. You're always a student of yoga. Yeah, so you learn every day a little bit more of your body and how to do an exactly a move exactly, or how to move the body. Yeah, so and that's why I like it a lot, this alignment yoga, because you always this classical pose, you have warrior pose, triangle pose, whatever, but you just yeah, you just make you just do alternatives for it. You just change the pose a little bit, and then a world opens up again for you every time. So, and that's how you can also make your yoga practice interesting for a longer time. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true as well. It keeps it innovative and I think fresh. And does that mean also that you're open to a wider audience in the sense of because you can use the props, do you do alignment yoga for the the pregnant ladies, um,
Mhm.
and for beginners, for intermediates, or is it quite advanced, would you say?
Yeah, no, I would say I have a basic alignment, so then we just well keep it basic. It's still intense, but it's the poses, the asanas are more accessible for most people. And then I just have the regular class, the regular alignment class, and most people they can participate in it, and I usually give alternatives. So if they cannot do a particular asana, then I just say, okay, you stay here, and then others go continue on, or you do this, and then we do that. Yeah, you and for the pregnancy ladies, I used to do it. Now I have a yoga teacher who's actually teaching that particular class, but I used to teach that class too. And yeah, you use, well, for them, it's definitely important to use props, in my opinion,
Mm.
to make poses accessible, and so you don't stick to just a few handful poses, because at some point your body will say no to a lot of poses, and in this way you can still by using props, by doing the asana a little bit different, uh, you can still have this variety of poses, and yeah, challenge.
As you just mentioned, the cover teacher doing the pregnancy yoga, how was it for you opening up your shala to other teachers? Because I can imagine it's like you put your whole soul and heart and everything into it. So I would be very, very selective, of course, but also want to give everybody a chance because I've been there once myself. So how did you go through the process of finding those people?
Yeah. Yeah, so this teacher, she came when I opened up this studio. She was here to just, I didn't know her, but she just came here one day, and she congratulated me with opening the studio, and she gave me a little plant, so we kept in touch, and she yeah, so in the end she I'd asked her if she wanted to start teaching, because on Wednesday evenings I didn't have any classes, and I did want to um, put classes on the roster, on the schedule. So I asked her if she wants to do it, but she has another background. She has more of a vinyasa style background. And that was fine for me, because I was happy that she could do another method, yoga method, and that she could offer that. So it would just make the studio richer in that sense, and enrich the studio. And but it was, of course, a little bit scary. Yeah, you have a particular way, of course, and also how you start a class, how you finish a class, also the way you greet people. I like to stay very I like to call all my students by their name. I also know all my students' names. I know what's going on usually in their life if they ask, if they tell me, of course. So this personal touch I was really looking for, and she also, yeah, she was the same, and she's different in her yoga teaching, but yeah, it does complete the studio so far. And the pregnancy group that she's teaching, over time, I realized that this is not my group. This is not really the people I really enjoy teaching. So I was really happy that she wanted to do that, and she really loves it. So in this way, it's yeah, balanced out. Also.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
Oh, it sounds lovely. It sounds like you guys have a lovely collaboration and the energy flows nicely. So
yeah, yeah,
glad
yeah.
that she brought you that plant all
Yeah,
those years.
yeah. I'm happy she brought that plant.
You still have it.
And I still have it. I still have it to today. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Beautiful plant.
Sanne, I have a question. So, what do you have coming up that you feel excited about, or what is um, the current year going to bring for you, do you think?
So I want to start chair yoga, chair yoga more for the elderly. That's a group that I want to, yeah, connect to. But then chair yoga for people who are no longer able to sit down on a mat or lay down on a mat. So that's something I'm really excited about. And
So cool.
um, yeah, of course, all the events. So I also want to start doing XL classes, which will be held on Sundays in the mornings. So instead of 75 minutes, which is in my studio the regular time slot for a yoga class, we do for 2 hours or 2.5 hours of yoga.
Oh, okay.
Alignment yoga or vinyasa yoga or yin yoga. So yeah, that is what I'm really excited about, and what is coming up. What will yeah, from March on we'll start with that, and also looking and also I want to expand the team, the yoga teacher team. So also looking for a good teacher in this area. And yeah, these are the plans for now, because at this time I'm doing a lot by myself, but at some point you can no longer do everything by yourself. You see your studio growing and there's a demand, for example, in the morning, but I can no longer do it because besides all the classes, of course, you also have your administration and promotion and all the other things that comes along with owning your own business. So you have to start expanding and also trusting then the others and the people yeah, you will hire.
Mm.
Yeah.
So expansion, and it all sounds extremely positive, which is fantastic. Yeah, expansion, growth, trying out new things. I mean, also sounds very inclusive that you're going to have the chair yoga. I didn't see so much of that, to be honest. For example, around studios in the Netherlands, but it was more Amsterdam based, to be fair. But is that something that you see quite commonly in your area, or is this going to be a first for the people there?
Yeah, this there was in my area one person, one teacher who did that, who actually taught these chair yoga classes, but she stopped teaching. And I've always had, always, it's not, that was not my primary dream or goal, but as I, well, started teaching and um, I started to think what I really find intriguing is with the elderly, you have a lot of limitations. So one has knee problems, one has shoulder problems, one has what whatever problem, and I find it intriguing. How can we then still access this particular part of the body that we are working on, but then in a different way, so that the knee doesn't get hurt or the shoulder doesn't get hurt. So that's what I find intriguing with the elderly group. And it's always, you're always testing things out. So for me, I don't have experience with a lot of the elderly people. I of course have some people who are in the regular classes, but they have a different kind of vitality. They're a little, yeah, they're different. Usually can still do a lot. I don't have a lot of experience, but if you don't try, you will never know. And for me, I really think that these people can benefit from it. And I know that there's a group of people who really want that, who want to move, but at the same time also find the peace within and yeah, really work on body and mind and soul. Yeah.
I think they'll be so grateful to you, to be honest, to have that space, like you say, to feel and to be considered as well. And to be honest, I think personally, I would love to try chair yoga,
Mhm.
even though I'm 30, just because I'm intrigued to see, like you say, how you could find alternative ways to target different body parts.
Yeah.
I can imagine it's actually very beneficial as well for younger people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In my basic alignment class, we use the chair, the yoga chair, a lot. But then, of course, these are people who can sit on the mat, who can lay down on the mat. So we can also do a lot of things around the chair, just using the chair, like the downward facing dog, but then holding the chair, the seat of the chair. So
Okay.
then you don't have as much pressure on the wrists as usually you would have. So
Yeah.
people who have issues with their wrist, for example, they could do the basic alignment class or a class with a chair, and they will have more access to that part without hurting themselves. And so there's so many things to use a chair, and that's also what Iyengar, Vikias Iyengar actually introduced, of course, the chair. You could do so, you can do advanced poses with the chair. And a lot of people, when they come in and they say, oh, we're using the yoga chair, and the new people, we're using the nose. It's like, what
Mm.
is this?
Yeah.
And then they, at the end of the class, I asked them, so what did you think? It's like, oh, I didn't know what you could do with the chair. And how many things you can do and still have a very intense class. But of course, that would not be how I would approach it with the elderly people. Um, but over with them, you can also still do so many things on the chair, next to the chair, behind the chair. I love the yoga chair. You can use it for everything. Yeah, you can even do. What? Sorry, what did you
I
say?
was like, I need to get a yoga chair.
You
I've never
can get
done
a
it with.
yoga chair. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can even do Sirsasana, the headstand, with a yoga chair. Well, you need two then, but you can even do that. So it's yeah, it's just there's so many things possible if you like to mix and spice things up with your yoga practice and start introducing props and blocks, bolsters, chairs. Yeah.
Wow. Is the yoga chair then it has the sort of the head shape in it that you can place your head, or is it not even?
No, no, no. So you have two yoga chairs with the seat facing each other. So this is the back face, and then the seats facing each other with a little bit of space in between. And you just put your head, yeah, in between, so the shoulders will be resting on the seats of the chairs, and then you just have to put the legs up. But so you have to be careful when you come out that you first
Yep.
shove your head back, otherwise you just yeah, we'll take the whole chair, two chairs. Yeah.
Really walking around with like bandages everywhere because I
Yeah.
tried to put two chairs together and do a headstand and it went terribly wrong. I'll be like,
Yeah, so don't do that. First look it up. Yeah,
go to Sanne's lesson and do it with her instead.
that would be a safer option. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. Everything that you've shared has been so interesting. I know you mentioned that you're sort of in the middle of nowhere, so to speak, for the Netherlands. So not everybody can come to your classes, but anybody who can, I would definitely recommend going to try it out. It sounds incredible. And I'm really excited as well for you to try these new things in the coming year. And of course, if there's anything that you want to share, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, if anyone wants to join a class, then they can. They are always welcome, and it's close to Nijmegen. Um, yeah, that's it. You're welcome in my class, and if you're a good teacher and you're here from around this area, also just give me an email or a message.
We will include that below the video so that people can reach out to you. Um, yeah, thank you, Sanne, and I wish you a lovely rest of the week.
Yes, thank you. You too. Thank you for this conversation.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.